Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of NAHL Coaches Corner. I'm Alex Kyrias. Today, we sit down with the head coach of the Springfield Jr Blues, Tyler Rennette. How you doing, Tyler?
Good, Alex. Thanks. How are you?
Good. It's great to see you. Looking good these days, as always. Tyler, let's take you back to last season. I know it was a up and down one for the Junior Blues. You guys were technically still in it when the season ended, but I know you had a young team. I know you had some injuries. So if you could just real quick reflect on last year and the ups and downs that you guys had.
Well, I think it was the big thing was it was a learning process for everybody. Like you said, we had a lot of young kids, and a lot of them came out of U16. So it's an adjustment. The league's a grind. It can take a toll on you. There's a lot of games and practice every day and travel that some of those kids aren't used to, and some of them are away from home for the first time too. So a little bit of homesickness comes into play, but at the end of the day, I think I learned the most. Right, I've never dealt with a young team before. We've had not real old teams, but we had some older players that we could kind of lean on. And at the end of the year, we only had two 20-year-olds. So positive thing, we can get 21 guys back next year. Guys that are used to me. I know what makes them tick. So at the end of the day, we're itching to get going here, and I know all the players are excited to get going as well.
Yeah, I want to look forward to this upcoming season. But first, I know that we try and get everybody's perspective and basically mental composition on when the season was ended and how you were able to talk to your players and deal with that situation, because it's really something that nobody has ever been through and may not ever go through again. Speaking about the cancellation of the season and this pandemic that everybody's had to deal with here now for the last 3.5 to 4 months, and I'm wondering, from your perspective, how were you able to manage it, both then and now?
Well, then it was kind of shocking, honestly, right? I'm one that I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to the news, which is kind of sad. But when we found out, it was just everybody was in shock. Then you have to call the guys in and have a meeting and kind of let them know that their season's possibly over. So, luckily we didn't have a lot of old guys that it really, really, really affected. But at the end of the day, the look on their faces was it wasn't good, right? And we were still in it, but technically it probably wouldn't have happened. So it just shows the character of those guys that they just wanted to keep competing every day. And it was interesting and something I've never had to do before, and hopefully that it never happens again, that you have to have a meeting with your team and tell them that the season's over here about a month short. So stuff starting to get back to normal here now, which is good. And hopefully it just keeps going in the right direction.
So you mentioned that you had a young team last year, going to be a little bit more veteran presence this year. I'm wondering, as you're building your team towards this year, which included the supplemental draft back on May 12th, obviously looking ahead here to the entry draft coming up on July 21st, what did you see, or what do you see as your biggest needs, gaps to fill with those who lost and those who you know are returning?
Well, we still wanted to get a little older. A majority of our team are 01s, 02s last year. So I think with the guys coming back, we still only have three 20-year-olds, right? So we kind of wanted to get a little older still with some guys that have some junior experience, that, guys that have played 2-3 years in other leagues that want to make the jump here. And that's kind of the direction we took. And we went with some imports. We figured let's get them wrapped up now so we can start the process. And hopefully they're able to come over here and be impactful guys for us. But yeah, that's the direction we took. And like I said, hopefully we can get this season going here with these guys coming into the country.
Even though the season wasn't what you wanted on the ice, you still had a pretty good notable list of NCAA commitments. And that follows the league trend of a record number of D1 commitments, approaching on another record of overall NCAA commitments. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, be it on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, what are you and your staff doing during the season, postseason, to try and make sure that every player that comes through and plays for the Junior Blues ends up with an NCAA opportunity?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that parents and the players and some advisors don't realize that the coaches have to do to get these kids moved on. And at the end of the day, it's our job to do that, right? It's not up to them. Obviously, they have to perform, but at the end of the day, we have to get their names out there, and whether it's emails or phone calls to the coaches or just a weekly newsletter that we might send out to all the schools. Hey, keep an eye on this kid. And so that's kind of what we do. And obviously, the guys got to perform. We can do all the groundwork we want, but at the end of the day, the players got to get on the ice and prove to these coaches that they belong at that level. And they said numbers don't lie. That's what sets our league apart from everybody else is the NCAA commitments. And a lot of kids feel like they got to play in higher levels to get that. But like I said, we've shattered records the last couple of years. And like you said, if we're on pace to break another one, I think it's only going to get better here. And when you got kids that want to move from other leagues into this one, it speaks volumes of what our league does. And kudos to all the coaches out there, because I don't think there's not one coach in our league that would sacrifice the development of a player for winning, and it speaks volumes.
We are entering the meat of what we know right now, at least this year, is the tryout season for NAHL teams. Of course, we've seen teams on the ice now for a couple of weeks. Heading down the road here, July and August, we'll see even more camps. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, how is it that tryout camps are so important in the team building process? Of course, you have the tenders, you have draft picks, but explain to the audience out there why the need for a tryout camp.
Well, I think like in Springfield, we don't have a big scouting staff, so we don't get to get out and see every team, every player, and midget and junior. So we've used our tryout camps as like we pick kids out of our camp, and every year there's been kids that make our final roster out of camp that we didn't get to see during the year, and they just kind of show up at main camp. So I think that it's an important piece for every team, and I don't think Springfield's the only team. There's probably teams in our league, every team that gets a kid or two come out of main camp, and especially to start the year, right? So I think they're a huge piece to every team in our league, and I know it's tough when we get like a lot of teams, and it's a lot of hockey to watch for the coaches. But at the end of the day, if you come to camp and you impress and you're not property yet, chances are you're going to earn a roster spot on a North American League team.
Finally, Tyler, you are a guy that has experience previously coaching in the NA3HL for the Peoria Mustangs down the road, a very successful and notable NA3HL team that's been in the league a long time and developed some players that have moved on to the NAHL. And now that you're in the NAHL as a coach, we see that transition to the Junior Blues. The Junior Blues have been notable in calling up NA3HL players to play for you. I guess most notable this year, Seamus Campbell from the St. Louis Junior Blues, ended up with an NCAA Division I commitment, now listed on NHL Central Scouting. You guys brought him up for a weekend. He played well for you. But overall, where does the NA3HL fit in the pantheon and the ladder of development with the NAHL, and what do you see as the benefits there?
It's especially, it's nice for us because we're an hour away from Peoria and we're an hour away from St. Louis. So we're kind of right in the middle, and Orty and Chris Flogger have done a great job with allowing us to use players if we need them. Those are two guys that again, will never hold a kid back. Doesn't matter who they're playing on the weekend, how big the game is. If they're going to get an opportunity at the next level, then they let them go. Right. So I think it's huge. Like you said, I used a couple of guys from Peoria this year, Cole Walter, the goalie. We used Seamus Campbell. So it's nice. And it's nice that, Seamus gets the NCAA commitment. I go way back with his dad from our playing days, way back. So, yeah, and it's great. I just think it's a great path for some of these kids, especially around the Peoria area. A lot of the Mustangs are local kids that stick around to play. They don't go play AAA. And I think Guy and Orty do a fabulous job on development there with practices, and some of them practice with the pro team. So they're ready to go. So hopefully, this year we can find one or two more that can crack our opening day roster as well.
Well, we're looking forward to see what kind of junior blues team is going to be on the ice in 2021. And we certainly appreciate your time today, Tyler, for sitting down with us here in Coaches Corner.
All right. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. That is Tyler Rennette, the head coach of the Springfield Junior Blues, on another edition of NAHL Coaches Corner.